Hi again, Mark here from Talking Bass. This week we're going to look at the concept of arpeggio inversions and how they can be incredibly useful in developing fluency around the fingerboard. I'll also be taking a further look at the song Master Blaster by Stevie Wonder that I covered in last week's lesson. The verse riff in particular makes use of some of the inversion patterns that we'll be discussing, so stay tuned for that. As always, the lesson material is all there over at Talking Bass, so just click on the link in the info below. Then, while you're there, check out the lesson map where you'll find hundreds of other free bass lessons, all systemized and organized by topic for ease of navigation. Then be sure to sign up for the free membership to gain access to a ton of extra practice resources like the scale reference manual ebook and the 25 bass riff challenges. Just sign up for free, log in, and it's all there in the practice room. Okay, so what is an inversion? Well, to cut a long story short, it's a chord built from a chord tone other than the root note. So for a triad, we're thinking of the third or the fifth. And that's it in a nutshell, but obviously that doesn't tell you much, and it wouldn't be a Talking Bass lesson without some step-by-step journey from the ground up. So the first thing that you're going to need to know before starting on inversions is the basic approach to chord construction and triads. Now, I do have quite a few lessons devoted to triads and a whole course over at Talking Bass dedicated to every aspect of chord construction in the shape of the Chord Tone Essentials course. So I'll link to the YouTube lessons and the course in the info below, and you can take a bit more of a deep dive if any of this appeals to you. But for this lesson, we only need to know two basic triad shapes. We need to know a major and a minor triad. Now, when we learn triads or any chord pattern on bass, we can learn them as block chords like this. But it's more useful and a lot easier to learn them as arpeggios. Now, just in case you didn't know, an arpeggio is a chord played one note at a time. So instead of this, we have this. So by learning arpeggios, we can study every aspect of harmony without having to bust our fingers fitting huge chords on 4 strings. And we learn how to express chords melodically. And this is the key to learning how to create bass lines. So, as I said, there are other lessons here on the fundamentals of tertian harmony and basic chord construction. But what we want today is a basic major and minor triad. So first, here's a simple C major triad by note. We have the notes C, E, and G. That's the root note, C, the major third, E, and the perfect fifth, G. Played as an arpeggio on the bass, we have the following. A minor triad is the same as a major triad, but we have a minor third in place of the major third. So for a C minor triad, we have the notes C, E flat, and G. We've got the root note C, the minor third E flat, and the perfect fifth G. So as an arpeggio, for a C minor triad, we have... Now, I'm guessing that many of you will know those two arpeggio patterns already. They are the two most popular chords in all of Western music, and just understanding those two arpeggios and the chord tones within them, you can create an infinite number of bass lines, melodies, and solos. But where do inversions fit into all of this? Well, an inversion of a chord contains exactly the same notes, but we just rearrange the order. So let's take the notes of the C major chord, C, E, and G. C is the lowest note, and then we work up through each chord tone in order. So E is next, and then G. But what if we take that same set of notes, C, E, and G, but rearrange them so E is the lowest note? Then we would have E, G, and then C. Same notes, all ascending in order, but starting on the third. This is called first inversion. Then we can do the same thing, but starting from the G, the fifth. So G, C, E. Same notes, but built from the G as the lowest note. This is called second inversion. If we build from the root note, C, as normal, that's called root position. And that's it. For a 3-note chord, a triad, we have root position, built from the root, first inversion, built from the third, and second inversion, built from the fifth. We can do exactly the same thing for the minor triad too. So C minor is the notes C, E flat, and G. That's a root position C minor triad. Then E flat, G, C is a first inversion C minor, and then G, C, E flat is a second inversion C minor triad. So that's the theory behind inversions, and you can apply inversions to any chord. Seventh chords, added note chords, extended chords, anything. But we'll stick to triads for now. So let's look at how we can apply those inversions on the fretboard. So if we take the C major triad, C, E and G, let's use a fingering that crosses 3 strings, and this is going to help with showing some of the applications later. So the arpeggio is going to be C, E and G. That's a C major triad. We've got 3rd fret A string, 2nd fret D string, and then the open G string. C, E, G. So that's the root position C major triad. Next, for the first inversion of that C major, we're going to still want to place it on those 3 strings. So we've got E, G and C. So for the notes there, we could use the E there, 7th fret of the A string, then the G at the 5th fret of the D string, and then the C at the 5th fret of the G string. Okay, so that's the first inversion C major. So far we've got root position, and then first inversion. Finally, for the second inversion, we have G, C and E. So again, across those 3 strings, we need a G. So we've got one here at the 10th fret of the A string, then C, 10th fret of the D string, and finally E at the 9th fret of the G string. Okay, so that's a second inversion C major triad. So let's just work through those. We've got root position, C, E, G, then first inversion, E, G, C, and then second inversion, G, C, E. So that's our 3 inversions, and you can probably already see how this can be quite useful in moving the notes of a chord around the neck. If we play up through the inversions of C major all the way from that root position down here, we'd have the following. Okay? Next, we can apply the inversions to our minor chords. So remember, all we have to do is flatten the 3rd in there. So we have C, E flat and G. So for the root position, we've got C, 3rd fret of the A string, E flat, 1st fret of the D string, and then the open G string. That's a root position C minor triad. First inversion, we're going to be starting on the E flat, so E flat, G, C. So E flat here at the 6th fret of the A string, then G, 5th fret of the D string, C, 5th fret of the G string. Okay? Then we have second inversion, so we move up to the G, 10th fret of the A string, and then we have C, 10th fret of the D string, and E flat at the 8th fret of the G string. So, root position, first inversion, second inversion, and then you can just keep moving up. Now you want to play those inversions for every major and minor chord, so a good exercise is to try playing through the cycle of 5ths or 4ths. Just as a quick example, if you work through the cycle of 5ths, you would start with C major, then you can try G major. So before you do it, say the notes of the chord out loud first, so you have G, B and D, and then work through them. Position, first inversion, second inversion. Then we could try D major, so maybe down here, D, F sharp, A, we have root position, then first inversion. And as you're moving up there, be sure to see those notes, and it helps, knowing that it's D, F sharp, A there. We're building that pattern from the D there, then you move up to the F sharp, build it, and then A. So it's really good for knowing the notes of the fretboard as well. Next we can try A major, so that's A, C sharp and E, so try an A major here, then we need the C sharp for the first inversion, and then the E for the second inversion. And you just get used to working through them. So you can continue through the cycle playing through every major chord. Then you can try the minor triads, so C minor, then G minor, D minor, just working through those inversions. And you can try working through both the cycle of 5ths and the cycle of 4ths. And this is a good all-round exercise for learning the chord tones, learning the fretboard, and learning some fundamental music theory. Okay, so now you understand inversions and how you might play them, but where might we use them? Well, there are an infinite number of possibilities, but one really useful use is for seeing the notes of a chord sequence in a restricted single position. So as an example, let's look at the chord progression of C major, F major, G major, and then back to C major. Okay? 3 insanely common chords. Now, for the sake of space and to avoid open strings, let's play up the octave around this 15th fret here, okay? So that's the C there, the 15th fret of the A string. So if we play the major arpeggio there in root position, we have 15th fret A string, then the 14th fret on the D string, and the 12th fret on the G string. There's that C major arpeggio. Now, if we want to move to the F major, the next chord, if we want to see those notes with as minimal movement as possible, okay, so we're not going to be moving, you know, down here or even down here. We want to just see them around that C there. What we can do is look at the nearest notes there. So we had F, A, and C. So there's a C there. We've got the F there and the A. So we've got the second inversion, okay? So the F's there at the 15th fret of the D string, okay? So 15th fret A string, 15th fret D string, and then 14th fret on G string. That's our second inversion F major triad. Okay, see how they're all within a very confined space, okay? So root position C major, second inversion for the F major, then we want the G major. So we've got G, B, and D. So let's have a look where there's a G close by. Well, we've got a G here at the 12th fret of the G string. And remember here, I'm really just trying to stay on 3 strings, okay? A string, D string, and G string. So what we could do is play the B, the D, and the G, okay? So we just move the C down to the B, so that's a nearby note. So that gives us the first inversion for the G major. So we've got B, D, and G. 14th fret A string, 12th fret for the D string, and 12th fret for the G string. That's the first inversion G major triad. So C major, F major, G major, C, all within one small area. So, inversions can be a great way of working around the chord tones with a bass line or a melody, regardless of the position, you know, and working through a chord progression. So, as an example of how we can use inversions in a bass line, let's have a look at the main verse bass line to the song Master Blaster by Stevie Wonder. It's in the key of C minor and it sounds like this. So let's have a look at the notes in there and see how Nate Watts makes use of inversions. First of all, it's important to know the chords in the progression because we're going to be using the notes in those chords. So we're in the key of C minor and we have C minor, then B flat major, A flat major, G major, F major, C minor, B flat major, and then we're back to the beginning. So we've got this descending line and then this little backdoor turnaround at the end. So in terms of the root notes, C, B flat, A flat, G, F, and then C, B flat, C, okay? So the notes here work through that progression outlining the chord tones. So we start with the high C, 5th fret of the G string. We come down to the G, 5th fret of the D string, and then the E flat at the 6th fret of the A string. And then we jump back up to the C at the 5th fret of the G string. Okay, so all of those notes are played staccato, very detached. So we're not playing them like this. You know, none of that. This is all very staccato. And you might have already noticed that that pattern there is the first inversion of the C minor triad, okay? So if you think back to the C minor, that first inversion pattern, we had E flat, G, and the C. That's what we're working around here. So we're coming down from that top C through the inversion. Next we work down C, B flat, and then the A flat. So we've got C and then the G. So 5th fret G string, 5th fret D string. Then B flat and the F, 3rd fret on the G string and 3rd fret on the D string. So So we've got 2 notes on the B flat, 1 on the F, and then back. So no inversions there, we're just using the root and the 5th on the B flat major. And then that leads us down to the A flat major. Once again, we're working down through a first inversion triad. So we've got A flat, 6th fret of the D string, E flat at the 6th fret of the A string, and then the C at the 8th fret of the E string. So, okay, coming down that major inversion. So this one up here for the C minor was obviously the minor triad. So we had, and then we've got A flat major, so it's a different pattern. Okay, so that's it. This is why knowing both the major and the minor triads in inversion can come in handy. And knowing these inversion patterns can make, for learning stuff like this, incredibly simple. You know, it really, really helps with memorizing it, because instead of just knowing this random pattern and knowing this set of notes, you just recognize it as an inversion, and you just think, oh, I'm just coming down through that inversion, a thing that you already know. So instead of learning, you know, several different notes, you're just learning one thing, the inversion. Okay, so okay, and then we come down again. Okay, so we've got the A flat, the G, and then the F. So we've got just the root and the 5th again. So A flat down to the E flat, 6th fret on the D and the G on the A string, and then we've got the G chord where we're playing the root and the 5th again. So 5th fret D string, 5th fret on the A string, and then we're on the F major. Exactly the same pattern as we used up here for the A flat, but this time we're on the F. So it's a first inversion F major triad. So, okay. And that's the descent. After coming down through that F major triad, we have the following. Okay, so we've got the F and the E flat there, 3rd fret and 1st fret on the D string. Then down C, B flat, 3rd fret, 1st fret on the A string. And then for the C minor again, we have C, C, G, G, G. So 3rd fret on the A string, 5th fret on the D string, and then down to the 3rd fret on the E string. Then for the B flat, we've got B flat, F, and B flat. So 1st fret A string, 3rd fret on the D string. And that's it, we're back to the beginning. So all of it together. And that's it. So try playing through that really slowly, focusing on all of those inversions in there, and then you can try with the track. Okay, so that's inversions, how to practice them and how they can be applied. Remember to like, subscribe and comment for more bass lessons every Friday, and as always, the lesson material is all there over at Talking Bass. Just click the link in the info below, then check out the lesson map for hundreds more lessons just like this one. Okay, I'll see you next week.